if you look at the amount of data today, it's clearly, there is a growing amount of data driven on one side by smartphones. Most of the internet connections, I mean, TRAI now announces some 220 or 230 million internet connections, with 91 or 92% of them being mobile. Okay, now most of them are not broadband connections. They're not even full-fledged internet connections. Many of them are, Facebook for every phone, which is a lighter version of Facebook, or dedicated or telecom portals of telcos and so on. So even when you eliminate all that, you're talking of maybe 70, 80, maybe 100 million people who are accessing the internet through their mobile device, the full-fledged internet. Okay. Now the question is, how much of other data, how much of devices, so in other words, how much of non-human usage is there? Okay, we don't seem to have a clear, I don't know if anybody has a better figure there, but we know it's somewhere in the range of maybe 5 or 10% here, or maybe less than that. Maybe it's in the 5-6% range. In other words, if you look at SIM cards alone, which go into just devices, and that is a pretty, in other countries, there are very, very high figures. For instance, Finland, which is of course a very, very tiny country, maybe 5 million people, they have 7, 8, 9 million phone connections, and many of them are actually devices. Dogs, rescue dogs, have little collars with whatever. So huge, huge difference there. So I want to just ask everyone here, maybe Jasmeet, starting with you, how do you get to this scale? Now, when you approach developers, I mean, clearly one of the large focal points for you in terms of looking at scale would be large developers rather than individual homes in terms of marketing. What do you think works for them? I mean, what are they looking for? Why is there a difficulty in communicating the benefits of automation systems and things which will make life easier and things more energy efficient and so on? Now, clearly, they themselves are not going to be end users of what they're building, so their interest in making the whole place great is low. But why can't they see it as something they can sell and command a premium for?
Sure. Very optimum question, PK. The point here is the use cases that we have in India are different than those that we have in the US. So the way that Indian consumers views a product and views its value is very different from how a person in the US or Europe kind of perceives it. So that's one of the reasons why developers are finding it a little difficult to offer products like cameras, intrusion alarms, and other smart devices in a home, because the Indian consumer views them differently and probably does not value them as much as a person in, say, a US or Europe will. Let me give you a very simple example. So some of the developers, they start offering intrusion products, intrusion alarms in your homes. It's a very big market in the US because of the nature of the user. There are smaller families, nuclear families, bigger homes. The homes are separated and at quite a big distance from each other. But in India, we have more number of family members, small communities. Even if you shout in one room, you'll see the neighbors coming in. So in India, intrusion alarms are just not being valued right now because the use case is very different. So the developers did try that, and eventually they realized that maybe we need to do something else. Maybe we need to create products which are more which specifically address the needs of the Indian consumer. So very simply put, the developers are aware of the technology, but it's just that they are not able to communicate the value prop. And even if they are, the market views the value prop a little differently. So I think the answer to that is that the developers, along with OEMs and the telcos, need to create products and solutions which are specific India-focused, which serve the needs of the Indian consumer, and that's when you'll see the demand picking up.
So just to add to that, my earlier question, what are the numbers like? So for example, if you look at a premium development complex in Gurgaon, the kind of they're selling at pretty high per square foot rate, somewhere maybe 15,000 per square foot, etc. This sort of an automation system, an automation electronic security system, how much would it typically add to this cost? Would it be 5% or less?
It's around 5 to 10% range.
5 to 10%.
Yeah.
Okay. But now what we see is the fluctuations in real estate are themselves way more than that, or the change across a year, or you know, somebody puts in Italian marble and somebody puts in Jaguar fittings and Grohe fittings and then says this is premium plus. And so now instead of 10, it's 14,000 per square foot. So we see far bigger you know, changes which are, this seems to be something which is more crystallizable and quantifiable, and yet it hasn't really picked up. It's the same with green and energy efficiency and all of that.
Right. So absolutely right. The answer to that is if it's 20,000 per square foot kind of a home, they'll put a premium product. If it's a 10,000 square foot kind of home, they'll put a mid-segment product, say an Indian brand or a Chinese brand. And if it is, say, a 2,000 per square foot, they probably won't put anything. So there are different brands at different price points, and a developer, considering the size of its project and the kind of segment, the user segment that they plan to offer it to, tweak their offering accordingly. So you'll have top-end developers like, say, the Lodhas of the world, who go for premium brands and more integrated home automation systems, whereas there'll be mid-segment builders who probably just will offer a simple video door phone. And that's how they say that this is home automation that I'm offering. Essentially, it's a video door phone. So that's how different developers are pitching different products of different quality, and also the offering are different. So a mid-sized developer, he will never really go for a very high-end home automation product, because his buyer in turn will not value it and will not be able to afford it. Unlike the marble example that you gave, as we were discussing earlier, it's something that you can touch and feel, and you can appreciate the value of an Italian marble in a home. But something like an intrusion alarm or a smart device, that's something that, since they are not very aware, they won't realize its value till they actually start using it, start playing with it. And that will happen only when they buy the property. So that's a little conundrum that the developer needs to solve.
So I guess things like intrusion alarms and security systems, the other problem would be that in these large complexes, there's a lot of security. So the need to put individual systems in individual apartments, people might feel they're kind of lower.
Absolutely. So there are, sorry, Vishal, please.
There are 2 points here, PK. One is, you know, the cost. The cost can't be 5 to 10% of the construction cost of the real estate cost. That's too high. So if the cost comes down and the benefits are better explained. So the benefit is not that you're putting another widget in your home. The benefit is that it's actually saving lives. It's actually making sure there is no gas leakage. So there's a sensor for that. There's a healthcare, so if there's actually health applications or use cases that are, so the benefits need to be communicated better, which is not being communicated right now. So all you see in home automation is basically spilling out, or what is the convenience of managing your thermostat from your mobile, but that's not actually what'll drive mass adoption. So it'll be 2 points. One is less expensive devices and that the developers can use. And the second is actually better communication of the benefits that can come from these devices.
So I agree with you on that, and I think maybe the cost might actually be significantly less as a percentage, because I know from my own experience for my home, which was a Terry Greer 5-star, the additional cost was in the 8 to 10% per square foot range. But that is for the entire green thing, and much of that cost was the HVAC, because the air cons were all 5-star rated, almost 3 times the price of an unrated air conditioner. All other electronics, LED, all of that put together. The security system and some of the automation systems, the motion sensors, the automation control for the lights, I guess if I break it up, it must have been in the 1 or 2% range. So clearly, that is something maybe a little easier to sell.
But if I want to interrupt 1 second, but if your HVAC costs more, but it actually saves you 25% energy on a monthly basis, that's the benefit which needs to be communicated.
Absolutely. So clearly, I mean, that was the reason why we went in for it, and it's a key part of that green system. And it's very visible. It saves you this much money. And I think, so for example, we are seeing water heating geysers. 5-star geysers have taken off in a big way because the cost differential is actually fairly low.
Right.
And you save quite a bit on those. So that's a very visible benefit. Tarun, how do you see the, I mean, clearly people buying smarter connected devices in the home, like TV sets, etc., they're paying a premium. So they seem to be happily buying it, although I don't know what is the extent of, penetration in markets like ours. Now, while the individual, the ticket prices, the average sale price for those are far lower than what we're talking about a home. But then, those are clearly, I mean, a TV which is 60, 70,000 rupees, a smarter version of that which is connected, etc., might actually be double of that, or might be, 60, 70% more than that. So people are spending in that. So how do you see this? Can we learn from this and see how, or is it that they're seeing the benefits of that far more clearly? Because even somebody comes and tells you that, oh, this TV will connect to the internet. Is there a clear, visible benefit of that? And can that sort of a benefit not be there in the connected home equivalent of that?
PK, there are 2 points that I'd like to make. First one is I agree with Vishal about the affordability bit. Even as basic, like Jasmeet said, a door locking system would cost about, I think, 1,500 or 2,000 bucks per unit. And for a developer who's making about a condominium, it's a significant cost. So affordability is one. Secondly, when I look at smart TVs and the whole ecosystem around us, I think the world is moving towards multiple screens, whether we realize it or not, but actually we're adding a lot of screens in our lives. So there is a smart TV, there is a mobile, the screen size of the mobile is increasing, there is a tablet, today cars have a screen, today the hotels have a screen, besides the television screen. So definitely, at the hindsight, there is a whole lot of data that's coming to us.